And then they ask us, why do you think they hate us? We have, I think Congress not too long ago appropriated $300 million to undermine the government of Iran. They're in there. The Iranians know it, and we know it. The American people generally don't know it. But then lobbing these bombs on people and killing. But no, we only kill the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda. Well, who are the Taliban? Well, they're the ones who resent the fact that we're occupying their land. So what do? We respond by sending more people over to occupy their land. And that's supposed to take care of them. So what we do is we just, stimulate the growth of more Al-Qaeda and more Taliban and be strongly objecting to what we're doing. Now, the real tragedy of our foreign policy is that our government has fallen into a trap by doing exactly what Osama bin Laden has written about. He's written about it, and I think it was in '98 or so, but he's talked about it even since for those who follow him closely. And he said that what he would like to do, first he wanted, to punish us for propping up puppet governments over there. And also after 9/11, it was because we were bombing Iraq, because we had sanctions on Iraq. We treated the Palestinians unfairly. We had military bases in Saudi Arabia. And that was the strong motivation. And yet what we're doing is exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. He said what Osama bin Laden wanted us to do. Strike that word. What he wanted us to do was to get bogged down further in the Middle East. So, aren't we? We're getting bogged down further in the Middle East. Send more troops from the guy that ran on as the peace candidate. And the second thing he wanted to do was to participate and encourage our financial crisis by us spending endless amounts of money in the military. And we've done that. And he wanted to stimulate the growth of his organization. And we have done that. So we have a long way to go on foreign policy. We have a long way to go on all these policies, whether it's turning around the monetary system, getting rid of the Federal Reserve, talking about personal liberties and making sure that the CIA and the FBI and all these other agencies don't spy on us and that we can regain our right of habeas corpus and many other personal liberties that we deserve. It'll be tough changing the foreign policy that we don't fight endless undeclared war that are unwinnable. And maybe as we plan to diminish those wars around the world, why not diminish or eliminate the war on drugs in this country, which has been of no value to us? When the dollar crisis hits, that's going to be much, much bigger than what we're going through now. Because it could happen suddenly. We don't know the event. We don't know the time, but the foundation is gone. And it could be possible that one day we could wake up and there could be something happening in the Far East and gold would be up $100 or $200 and the dollar they would be deserting the dollar, and then there might be a rush for the exit. The end stages of the destruction of a currency comes quickly. And even though there can be a gradual erosion for many years, then it drops off. And we've had the gradual erosion of our dollar. You know, it's measured against gold. It's lost 98% of its value from 1913. Matter of fact, since 1971, it's 96 or 97% because the gold was held artificially, the dollar was held artificially at $35 an ounce. And when it comes to the purchasing power measured by the CPI, we've lost about 97% just in the last 30-some years since Bretton Woods was ended. But when it comes to measuring our dollar against other currencies, since 1971, it's down, we're one of the worst because we're down against all the other currencies, we're down 33%. But that's not nearly as bad, but that's not a good measurement because there are other currencies too. All the currency eventually will go down. So when the crisis hits, I think it's going to definitely be worldwide because people still hold dollars. It's still the reserve currency. There's still a lot of bubbles out there that haven't burst, and therefore it will be a worldwide event, and nobody knows what will happen after that. What the consequence will determine where we are, where our ideas are. Are we in a place of influence? Do we have more teachers and more people in journalism and more people in organizations like this? That will be it, because we have to have enough. We have to have people in Washington. We have to have the American people outraged. That is good, but they have to know what they're going to replace the system with. And that is our job, to be very, very positive on what the answer is. Yes, we're against the Federal Reserve, we're against this foreign policy, we're against this and this, against deficits, but what are we going to do? Does that mean you'll always have to answer the question, oh, you're against this welfare spending. That means you hate poor people. You have no compassion. Well, the truth of it is if you care about the average person, poor people, and famine, the only option is free market economics and private property. But the opportunity is going to be there. I don't see how we can escape it. We just don't know whether it's 2 years or 5 years. I tend to think that it'll be several years. But it could come quickly, and then it's going to be political. And what will we do as individuals? Well, many of us, I'm sure, in this room have already thought about trying to protect yourself and your family and surviving a tough time. But first you have the economic financial crisis, then you have a dollar crisis, and then you have the political crisis and the breakdown of law and order. Now, that can't all be all that bad, because when the dollar doesn't work, it means the federal government doesn't work very well either. There's been a lot of talk about secession and nullification, but I'm not a radical, so I wouldn't talk about that. But I can tell you what I think will happen. I think there will be de facto nullification and de facto secession, because it will be very difficult to keep you from earning a living to take care of your family. It will be very difficult for the government to come in when they don't have any funds. They'll have a lot of guns and they're going to try, but when the money doesn't work, one thing will happen is our empire will end. They'll have to bring our troops home. And then I have one more radical solution for this that hopefully we'll get it across. Since we will have difficulty and you want to, how do we bring people together and have law and order again? I suggest that, just because it's the best thing we have right now, why don't we just follow the Constitution for a while? We got into this trouble by not following the Constitution if we wanted to look to it for guidance about monetary policy and a few other things. But the Constitution was not perfect, and we know that. It's not perfect now. But it is the one thing that we're supposed to pay attention to. But, if it ever got to the point where we had to rebuild with a constitutional convention, maybe we could clarify a few things. Maybe some of the ideas the founders endorsed, I believe there was a consensus on nullification and really secession, too. But maybe we should be more explicit about that, and that would hold the federal government in check all the time. If they knew that a state could leave if they didn't like what the federal government was doing. But that's oftentimes, and we don't know what will transpire, but we do know economically that this cannot be sustained. And this is why what you do in this effort to campaign for liberty is so crucial. Our numbers have to grow, even though they have been growing surprisingly for me to such an extent that I am just so pleased. But for everybody in this room, I'm sure each one of you have hundreds of people yourselves that you communicate with, or you can get lists. And that's what happened. I mean, this whole idea of when they say something spreads on the internet going viral, I mean, that's a pretty good term. It goes viral. And good stuff can go viral too. Good viruses are out there, and that's what we want to be.